If you're a heating, air conditioning technician, or even a salesperson, what's a type of buyer that you need to know about that can hurt your sales process, and why does this matter? This is a super important question. I'm Scott Sylvan Bell, coming to you live for HVAC Technician Sales Secrets on a perfect day to talk about sales and a perfect day to talk about you, your closer. So a couple of things that I got to let you know up front. This video will probably be about 8 minutes. I have lined out 3 full pages of notes about this buyer and why they're dangerous to salespeople in just about every profession. And they're like 1 in 100 buyer. But this buyer throws so many people off, and it's the extreme price shopper. They throw so many people off because of how you feel afterwards. So let's just go through the elements of regret and rejection. Time, energy, effort, risk, money, reputation. So those are the 6 elements of regret. They're the 6 elements of rejection. I put in time, energy, effort to the proposal, money, because I'll lose the deal, risk, because if I lose the deal, it could throw me off my path, and reputation. I want to go back to the office and say I'm a closer. I want to go prove to the dudes and the chicks on my team that I got what it takes to close deals, and I'm supposed to be there. And the reason why this is so painful for salespeople is because you put in those 6 elements: time, energy, effort, risk, money, reputation. And you put in all that work and effort, and then there's the feeling of like, ugh, like I feel wrong. I feel ooky. I feel like I got taken advantage of. Ooky's a technical term. I feel like I got taken advantage of. So you put in 6 elements of rejection, 6 elements of regret, and then you like, I feel like I got taken advantage of. And nobody likes to feel that way. This is why this 1 in 100 buyer really screws up salespeople and can prepare them for a loss, or prepare them for, if you're like, hey Scott, what causes a sales slump? This buyer can, if you let it get to you, okay? And this is exactly why you should join HVAC Tech Secrets. I'll give you the goods, not in the Facebook group, not in the YouTube channel. And today, I've got my Stay Stoked shirt on. I have 40 of these t-shirts. 40 of the Stay Stoked in different colors. Right? I went to TNC Surf and all mall and said, give me a box of 40, just give me all sorts of different colors. And they're like, 40? And I'm like, all right, 44. They're like, all right, we'll sell them to you. Okay, so first and foremost, you have to know that you have value. You have a lot of skills, talents, and capabilities, a lot of knowledge. And if you're out in the field for a while, you have hundreds or thousands of hours out in the field, and you acquire knowledge. You learn about airflow, systems, sizing, code, what works, what doesn't, just based upon being around. There is value to that, right? You count it like it's a degree, count it like you have knowledge. And the reason I bring this up is the person that you're meeting with that's going to be this 1 in 100 buyer, they tend to say a lot, but they say nothing, right? They say a lot, but it's meaningless. It's gobbledygook, right? It's platitudes. There's not a lot there. They're not going to talk to you about anything that's important. They're there to extract and harness information from you. And they're probably going to be overly nice, right? So like, somebody who talks a lot but doesn't say anything and overly nice is a way to disarm you. I call it friendly, dumb, and dangerous. And I don't mean that to be negative, but there's times where I meet with buyers and they want some consulting and they want some coaching. And, entrepreneurs, business owners, they're usually pretty honest, especially if they have a degree of success. And so when they start doing the friendly, dumb, and dangerous to me, it sends off a red flag, and it's like, hey, Scott, be aware. Like, I'm not going to treat the person any differently. I'm not going to go any direction. I'm going to confirm and verify before I go any further, though. But this person, what they're really after is data aggregation. They're after your data. They're after your knowledge, because without you, they don't have it, right? So think back in the last 10 houses that you visited, and one of those houses or 2 of those houses were not a simple install. And you had to look at it like a puzzle. I'm going to take this thing apart and I'm going to figure out how the puzzle goes together. And the buyer, in their mind, they're like, well, you're just kind of like Google. We're just going to have you out and you're going to tell me everything that I need to have done. Right. And the buyer wants the outcome of a low price and all of your data, but they don't want to make a commitment to you. Right? Like that's really what you're up against. And this is where the ooky feeling comes from. And with this being said, I'm going to give you a couple of terms in this video that you need to know what they are. And one of them is cherry picking. And cherry picking is this. Let's say you've got 3 people that are coming out to give a proposal, which is normal in the industry. And this system is a horizontal unit in the attic or an upflow in a basement. Okay. But with that being said, some sheet metal work needs to be done. You got to replace a plenum. With that being said, you need to add like some sort of air filtration to meet the needs of the home. And you probably need to enlarge a return because almost every home you go to has a return issue, okay? So let's say that you line out and you give a proposal and it says like system 10 grand and your competitor is at 9, you got another competitor at 12, you're in the middle of the road. And then for the plenum, one competitor is at 100, another competitor is at 125, another one's at 150. And then to enlarge a return, one competitor is at 300, one competitor is at 400, one competitor is at 500. So what cherry picking is going through and saying, all right, well, I got 3 bids and I kind of want to Frankenstein them together. And I got a guy who's willing to do a system for 9 grand. I've got a guy who's willing to do a plenum for 100. And I got a guy who's willing to enlarge a return for 300. So what I want you to do is I want you to meet that demand of all 3. And it's not really the right way to do business. It's pretty unethical for somebody to say, hey, like I'm going to segment out these parts and pieces, because everybody's got their secret sauce of how they're going to figure out business. And if you don't know that this is what's going on and nobody's ever told you what cherry picking is, like this happens in business all the time. Okay. So with that being said, some buyers are greedy and you can't get mad at it. It is what it is, right? Like as I'm filming this video today, it's a nice Sunday. It is a nice Sunday out. It's like saying today's a nice Sunday. There are some buyers that are just greedy and they get this massive dopamine rush from finding the craziest deal possible. And sometimes greed is induced, right? So sometimes if you give too big of a discount, like they're like, what more can I get? And so just realize it's human nature. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. But once again, this buyer consumes salespeople and it throws them off. And you need to know what a stalking horse is. So we gave you cherry picking one. We're going to give you a stalking horse. And a stalking horse is a false pretext concealing someone's real intentions. And so let's say that you're dealing with this extreme price shopper. This extreme price shopper is not really telling you what the outcome is that they want. All they're doing is they're spinning you through a bunch of time, energy, and effort, asking you a ton of questions and confirming that you are or are not going to include a part or a piece in their product, right? And at the end of the day, they may come back to you and say, hey, sales guy, I really like your company. And let's just say for sake of conversation, you're at 20 grand. And let's just say for sake of conversation, they talk to somebody else who's at 16. So what they do is they go, hey, I really want to use your service, your product, your widget, your gizmo. And I really want to, but you're going to have to meet me at the price of 16. Okay. Be aware that at this point, you may become a stalking horse. So you agree to terms at 16. They call B squad company and they go, hey, I talked to A squad, which is you, right? You're the A squad. They talked to A squad company and they said they're willing to meet the price. What are you willing to do? Okay. So this is a race to the bottom. You are now a stalking horse. So B squad company, they're probably nice dudes, probably nice chicks. Like a lot of really nice people in the in-home services. And I don't mean it in a bad way, B squad. B squad company goes, well, let's take $500 off. Okay. So extreme price shopper does this. They call you back, A squad. Hey, man, I hate to tell you this. I just got off the phone with B squad company and they're willing to do the job for $500 less. You're gonna have to meet me there. And you're like, well, wait a minute. We've just had this conversation and, I came down on my price a lot of money to get you there. Yeah, but, B squad company really wants the job and they're willing to do it for $500 less. Okay. So let's just say you go $500 less. Punchline to the joke. Now all of a sudden, mysteriously, B squad company once again wants to go down another $500. So there's things that you have to do and you have to realize to spot this buyer. There's things that you need to know. One, they're going to be non-committal throughout the entire process. They're going to be maybe kind of portion something. They're going to give you phrases like, I promise I'll review this. I'll take a look at this. Let me ponder this or think this through. Super wishy-washy. Super wishy-washy. When they do make a decision, it's a Confederate one. So a Confederate decision means it's not true. It means that it's the fake yes that when you try to get people on the yes train. They're going to answer your questions with vague responses. They're not going to be sincere. Okay. So what they're telling you may not be the truth because remember, they're not thinking from the point of real conversation. What they're thinking from is the point of dopamine rush. They want, they like, you can get people on the grid. It could be induced by you. Realize this. If you give too big of a discount, you can induce this, because now they're like, I got super huge dopamine rush. Now it's time for me to get more. They'll want you to respond quickly, but they won't get back to you. So this is the thing. They want you to be on edge, but they don't want to get back to you. And on your end, here's where you realize what's going on. If you're doing most of the talking, right? Like, look at your talk ratio. Is it 50-50? Is it 80-20? Is it 60-40? Chances are pretty good you're doing most of the talking and they're just absorbing. And then on their end, they get hyper-focused on proposal and data points, specifics. Well, what exactly are you including? Okay. And there are buyers that just want to know, right? Don't get that confused. So I put together seven things for you to deal. Because, like, at the end of the day, you're like, what kind of buyer is this? Why are they driving me nuts? What are they doing? Right. So first and foremost, trust your gut. Now that you have the breakdown, now that you have the knowledge of who this buyer is and what they're planning on doing, trust your gut. The hara, as the Japanese call it, is super important. I learned that from Jim Camp. 2, set your limits. You need to have your limits set. And on this being said, number three, you need to lock down with if-then questions. If I can do that, then what? If we do that, are you going to? When we do this, if we do this, like, it's a contingent. Based upon contingency, if you move forward with me, I will do that. Based upon the timeline, when we do this, I will do that, okay? Be very specific on your proposal and choose your words wisely, because this is the person who thinks that they're an attorney, and they might be an attorney, but they think that they're an attorney. Or there might be some things that you want to be vague about. There might be some things that you don't want to put in there, okay? Get good at setting boundaries. Like, one of the things that salespeople really struggle with is being good at setting boundaries, right? And I'll raise my hand and say, in the past, this is me. Hi, I'm Scott Sylvan Bell. I make mistakes on average 4 times a day, okay? And then with that being said, you really need to have a deep pipeline, because you need to put a line in the sand and say, I'm not going to go past this. Like me, I've been used as a stalking horse. I've had people cherry pick, and I've had times where I'm just like, peace out, I'm done. I'm not going to deal with this person, because they're never going to be happy. Or there's been times where I've done business with them and things have worked out okay. So you have to set your own boundaries, but having a deep pipeline gives you the ability to walk away. And then there may be times where you, as a salesperson, need to break up with them before they break up with you. And be aware that this drives people absolutely nuts. Be aware that this really gets people freaked out. So thank them and say, hey, like, at the end of the day, it's best if we don't do business together. Or, you know, if you kind of have like a confirmed date of install, tell them, hey, I'm pulling this job off my install. Like, I can't leave this on here. I'm just going to pull it off. And especially in super hot or super cold weather, that may be enough to get them to move forward. Just know that, you know, these are people, it's 1 in 100, but it really throws salespeople off, because they fall in the time, energy, effort, risk, money, reputation trap for everything that they've done. And this can be the beginning of a sales slump. And I know this is a longer video, but I dedicated a lot of time to it for this reason. If you knew what was going to put you into a sales slump, wouldn't you want some really good details? Wouldn't you want some really good ways for you to know what's causing them? That's all I'm going to say. You got 1 or 2 things to do from here. Just 1 or 2. Find the subscribe button. Click on it every time I send out a video. You'll get an update, or hit follow. We'll see you soon.